Hello, and you're very welcome to the second edition of the Mobiography Awards live show. My name is Glenn Mulcahy. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Andy Butler.
Hello.
Hey, Andy. And Brendan O'Shea.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, guys. So some people may not have seen the first edition last week, even though it's really performed beyond expectations, over 1,000 views. I was delighted to see that, which is great. Maybe we should kick off today's show with a very brief introduction about who we are. Brendan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. I'm Brendan O'Shea. I'm a photographer from Cork in Ireland, and I do mobile photography workshops here in Ireland and around the world. I've been fortunate enough to travel and give workshops around the world. So, yeah, that's me.
Very good, Brendan. Andy?
Hi, yes. My name's Andy. I'm the founder and editor of Mobiography magazine, which is a digital magazine dedicated to the art of iPhone photography. I've been taking photos with my iPhone since 2012. I've always had an interest in photography, but 2012, discovering an app called Instagram was a pivotal moment for me. So, yeah, I started mobiography.net, and that evolved into the magazine in 2013, and I've been publishing that for the past 8 years.
Awesome, fantastic. And my name is Glenn Mulcahy. I said that bit already. I'm a little bit of the dark horse. So I come from a broadcast TV background, very passionate about smartphone photography, but also mobile content creation. In fact, for the last 3 years, my full-time job has been teaching people basically how to make broadcast quality stuff with their phones. So that happily brings us all together today under the banner of the Mobiography Awards. Now, again, if someone hasn't watched over the last 2 weeks, or if someone perhaps hasn't heard of the competition, Andy, maybe it'd be worth giving a little bit of background to how we came up with the idea.
Yeah, sure. Well, in planning the competition, we wanted it to be something that was just a bit more than just a competition. We wanted to sort of add value back to the community. Hence, the reason why we're having this series of live workshops and also the podcast. It is going to allow us to add an educational and inspirational aspect to the competition, which fundamentally has been at the heart of what Mobiography has been doing for the past 8 years. So yeah, the competition launched last month. It closes on Friday the 20th of August. So I think there's about 41 days left. We have 5 categories. There's street and urban, landscape and nature, people portraits, and digital art, as well as the LumaTouch moving pictures category, which is a bit different. It's aiming to bridge the gap between photography and video editing. So it's asking people to sort of submit short videos, telling a story that can be through slideshows, moving images, video, time lapses. Prize-wise, there's $1,000 up for grabs for the Mobiography Photographer of the Year, $500 for the LumaTouch category, and $250 for the photography winners, as well as interviews on Mobiography and the Fauxblographer.com.
I'm glad you managed to pronounce it right, because I still have to get it right. But anyway, very good. That's excellent. So one thing that kind of strikes me is the show. It's designed to be interactive. It's designed to give you kind of takeaways so that you can actually learn from the experience of some of the photographers that we will share over the series. And today, Brendan is chatting to one of our judges. I beg your pardon. One of our judges, Renzo Grande. Brendan, I'll let you take it away.
Great stuff. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, I think today we're really excited to bring one of our judges, Renzo Grande, to us today. So you get to meet our judges. And I think very much for the people tuning in, it's going to be a great learning opportunity, because Renzo not only is a fantastic street photographer, portrait photographer, he also is the founder of the world's biggest photography event, the 24-hour project. So today we're going to learn about street photography, how to anticipate shots, how to react to get the good shots. And also we're going to learn from Renzo, looking through his photographs, about portraits, what goes in to make your subject relax so that they can reveal and that you can get good quality portraits from them. For me, it's great to have Renzo here, because I think that very often when you're looking at a photographer's photos, you can learn a lot about the photographer themselves. And for me, Renzo's photographs, when I look at them, I can see that there's a lot of curiosity. But I think more than anything, there's empathy. And I think empathy is a great thing in street photography, be it in dynamic street scenes or empty street scenes, that the empathy and the kind of curiosity and the passion that Renzo has for his photography comes through. And then when it comes to portraits, there's a tenderness. There's a really, really great connection with the subjects that he's photographing. So for you tuning in today, I think there's going to be great learning opportunities, particularly if you're thinking of entering our competition for street photography, for urban, and for people and portraits. So Renzo, you're on screen. Thank you very much. I'm really delighted to have you here. I know that you're in Florida at the moment, 5 hours behind. Have you been taking, having your morning coffee to get you ready for this?
Yes. Got my morning coffee, my nice piece of bread, and onwards we go. Thank you very much for having me. It is surely a pleasure to be part of Mobiography and also to be a judge here as well.
Great stuff. And you're going to show some of your photographs, and we're going to learn from them, learn about your process. And, we'll have some tips and tricks and takeaway points for the people tuning in today about how to, get inspired, I think, is one of the things, and also to get out and get shots themselves based on what they learned today. So great stuff, Renzo. So whenever you're ready to start.
Yeah, surely. Let me know when you guys see my screen. There you go.
Yeah, can see it.
We can start with it. Yeah.
This is, I think, every man can relate to this scene.
So I started with my passion with photography started about 10 years ago. And surely it was with an iPhone 4, I believe. We have to, back in the days, we had to struggle with light and speed and the processor and so on. So this image was taken while we were participating in the 24-hour project, which is a project to take photos for 24 hours.
24 hours. Need a lot of coffee for that.
A lot of coffee for that. So we were doing it with a group of friends. We were inside the coffee shop, and I did hear a woman talking. She just kept on.
Heard her before you saw her.
Yeah, I heard her before I saw her. So I just came out of the coffee shop, and I was thinking, oh, okay, and there's a person outside. I'm going to take a photo of it. And then I realized that she was not talking to herself only. So I saw this expression of the person, and I tried not to intrude or make her pause. So I got close enough, got my iPhone on my hip, tried to make it as level as possible, and then this came up. I walked away, I looked back, and they kept on doing the same thing that they were doing for the past 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, I think with this one, even though it's a shot from the hip, I think that the composition is carefully crafted in it. And I think, as well, I think that, with this shot here, I think there's a lot that people can take away from it in terms of, moving from what is like a snapshot to actually, crafting a photograph and making sure your subjects are in the frame. And very much like shooting from the hip is a good idea because it allows, a lower perspective that you can get here. And it really tells a story as well, doesn't it? I think that's what you really want in a street shot, the storytelling aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And we always have to try to oversee what all the elements that will be within the shot. If there were to be a dog around her legs or his legs, I also wanted to make sure to get the dog as well. So I kind of studied what was around them as well to make sure that that's included. Of course, here it was the position of the feet on both of them, coffee and facial expression.
Yeah. And I think it's the dynamic between the two. There's and I think it sparks a lot of curiosity, doesn't it? There's a lot of stories that we could imagine, the kind of before, the what happened after, why is he looking that he's, we could say he's suffering there. Yeah, great stuff.
Then this image, I was lucky enough to come visit an NGO in Kolkata, India. And with them, we went to visit the Islam communities.
So your job is in the UN, just for a little background for people. You get to travel.
Yeah, correct. I do work within the United Nations, and then I do photography as a hobby on the side, and that has taken me to different locations.
And so tell me a little about when I learned about these photographs before from you, and you like to get into the scene and to kind of get comfortable with it and get a feeling for it. Tell me why, how does this lead into your crafting the photographs? Yeah,
correct. Usually when I go to a new location, I do not take my iPhone or camera out. I always try to read the emotions around me. In this case, I was aware that there are families and multiple kids, and every time that there is a new not familiar person in their surroundings that they will shy away or they will start looking at me. So we were visiting a house that it's on the right side of this frame. You barely see the white top linen. And then I kept on playing with these two kids, the one on the lower left and the one with the ball. We kept playing with the ball without talking the same language. And once I felt comfortable and once I saw that they felt comfortable with my presence, it's when I was able to pull my iPhone out. I did have to, of course, as we always do, we study the light, we study our angles, we study surroundings, we study the noise behind the image. I did have to adjust the shutter. I think I was using Pro Camera on this shot. Adjust the settings for the sun. I did not want to get just shadows. I wanted to get more colors and more elements onto it.
And I think that's well achieved there. And I think that we put it in the show notes about the app. It's called Pro Camera, and it's an app that you can use, which allows you more control over exposure and balance. And that's so like for the sun, the light there, that was one of the challenges you had in the shot.
Yes. I mean, we keep on learning. That's what I keep on doing. I keep on trying, making mistakes, adjusting, going back, learning, and so on.
And I think one of the takeaway points that people could have, I think particularly when you're coming to portrait as well, is that, to become comfortable with the people that you're interacting with, and that allows then for better, what is here a candid image and telling a story. I think as well with the 5 people in the shot, their form is individually recognized. There's no overlapping. And I think that again creates the story with it, and there's great depth with the guy in the background and that. But there's a lot going on. Another great storytelling, and that's what you want from street, really, isn't it? To tell a story and there's some connection people can have.
Yes. And as well, with this craft, we try to perceive the future. Like you mentioned the other day, if you see it, then it's already too late. So here I was walking. I knew that the birds were just eating from the ground. I knew that the birds were going to come up, and then I knew that this was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to get it or not. I every time that I go out, I make sure that I am on airplane mode. So no
distractions.
Not only distractions, but since I'm trying to get a precise moment, I do not want my phone to lag because something else is happening.
Very good point.
I don't want my phone to try to update my Facebook or messages or so on, because that gives me a microsecond that might cause for me to miss a shot.
That's a great point, actually, that you want all the power going to the camera and not going to any other apps in the background.
Exactly. And in this case as well, many of the things that we are not able to tell on images is what the photographer goes through, be it weather, be it a bad day, be it a good day, and so on. So we just have to adjust to it and make the best out of it.
And I think very much with this one, Renzo, what you're suggesting is like that when you're on the street and getting the street, but you can't predict anything, you can't control anything, but you have to be ready. And you have to anticipate that an opportunity may come, and having the phone is, with you, you'll be ready to get the shot. Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Correct.
And this one with the
Go ahead.
With this one with the birds movement, the birds in flight, was that a single shot, or were you using burst mode on the?
I think it was a single shot. Single shot. Yeah. I guess I discovered burst shot way too late.
I think burst mode is great for that. To get, particularly because the birds, again, that they're like the 5 of them are their form is identifiable individually, they're not overlapping. But I think it's a great shot about to anticipate your scene on the street, and also to be careful not to fall on the ice and the snow there.
Yeah. I mean, it was whether I got it or whether I did not. It's just taking a chance. And just keep on trying. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, definitely so. And this, I think, this is wonderful. Like, I think we were talking about these, and like the 3 of us, myself, Glenn, and Andy, with Renzo before the show, and I think the 4 of us were all identifying different things and seeing different things in the sequence of photographs and building up a scene and working a scene. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, Renzo?
Yeah. So this was probably done with an iPhone 6, I believe, back in the days as well. And I mean, what I try to do as well is try to see what's happening around me and try to study and not to intrude either. So as I was getting closer, I think I saw them from across the street, and I just kept on crossing, and I saw their interaction, and I did shoot as I was approaching them, not knowing what was going to happen. And it was hard for me to select which one to shoot, because one without the other will not be able to tell the story. So at the end, I pretty much put them all together and try to, without words, try to let the audience see what actually happened.
And I think like the great thing about this is that we can see the sequence of photographs forming a story, but I think each individual photograph tells a story as well, and that there's a lot that the viewer can enter into it, and kind of inspect and form stories from it themselves. One question that I might have that people watching this today and thinking about entering our competition would be that, should they enter something like 4 similar photographs, or do you think they're better served if they were to choose one of the ones that they think is the best from that as an individual one?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the actual photos, right, if they add up to the sequence, if it's a series, then a series works. But if it's like a competition for a single photo, then they'll probably compete. In this case, for example, I mean, if I were to enter the 4 photos, the first one might tell you a little bit compared to the third one, and so on, or the fourth one without the first one, then you don't know what else is happening around.
What these photos might lend themselves to is the category we have for LumaTouch, that is the moving photos category, that could be very good to put a sequence of photographs like this together, which tell a story. But I think that each one, when I'm looking at it, my favorite one was the guy in the top right, with the guy looking at his phone and the girl looking away and the guy trying to kiss. I think it's a magnificent sequence. And I think, to contrast with the previous one, when you're anticipating a scene, here you're really reacting to the scene and you're working it.
Correct. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Every time that I go, I mean, we try to shoot our own streets, during our own time, in our own city, and after doing it for many years and many months and many weathers, sometimes it gets tiring. So every time that I travel somewhere, that somewhere is always much more exciting than home, right? Because we get numb to home. So when I come back to New York, what I try to do is join parades, join and mingle with whatever is happening within the parade. And as I do, I try to make sure that every single parade that I join, it's because I believe on the actual parade. I believe on what they're doing it.
Very good.
So in this case, I did see the tattoo first from farther away. I did not see the girl on the right side. And as I was approaching the tattoo, because it was just overwhelming to see from far away, then she turned, and I was just nicely surprised.
I think there's, again, that for the takeaway point that our viewers could have is like that. First of all, something get your visual attention, like the tattoo on the guy's back, and you get in there, and then you begin to notice and observe different elements and scenes come together. And I think the girl turning around, making the eye contact, the reflection in the sunglasses, fantastic. And tell me, like, when you take a photograph like that and you review it on your phone, do you instantly know that you've got a good shot?
No, not really. Not really. Usually, I mean, what I do is I do not look at my phone at the exact same moment. I just keep on focusing on taking shots. If anything, I let them marinate. I let them stand on standby. Later on, when I sit down for a drink or so, then that's when I start looking at them. And what I try to do as well is I try to make myself distant from the actual photo itself. Because, for example, emotionally, for example, in this case, if I were to take this photo and then I will talk with the girl, and then there was somehow a relationship because we're talking of a specific subject, then I will remember this photo because of the conversation with the girl. But then that will not tell anything to anybody else. So I do take it. I do not look at my photo on my phone after I take the photos, and I do so later on the day. And if anything, I surprise myself, like, oh yeah, that's right. This happened. Oh yeah, this works.
Yeah, I think that's great for people again to consider that, with photographs, that sometimes when what we observe in a scene to get the shot, later on, days later or weeks later, we look through a photo and we begin to see things that we hadn't seen at all before, and they can take on a different life like that.
Yeah, and it also happens because we walk the streets and we do get tired, right? And sometimes we are just or something happened on the street and we just get distracted. And then as we see the photos that we just took, we just remember that emotion. Oh, I'm exhausted. I cannot walk anymore. Oh, I got into a fight with someone on the street, and these images do not work at all. If we see them after a week, they're like, oh, that's
fresh
eyes.
Yeah. Great stuff. And this one, now, when we were preparing for the show today, you were talking about, and you passed the comment that this photograph helped you to begin to see in black and white. And I think that is really fascinating to learn about what you mean by that, Renzo.
Yeah, so when I started taking photos, I was fascinated with color. To me, color was great. It was grabbing attention, and then combination of colors and so on. And then I learned to see in black and white, which, if anything, had become easier. And the way that I see in black and white is, if there is a color that it's that just becomes noise to the actual image itself, then it's in black and white. In this case, as I was taking the photo, I knew immediately this is a shadow, this is movement, this is an expression, this is joy, and it had to be in black and white. And what I do is, every time that I come visit family, I always take photos of family gatherings and everything. Always with the phone. And then as I do leave my trip and I go back to New York, then I do print the photos and give it to the family.
That's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, so this is my uncle, and this is his dog. Yeah. They were just playing back and forth with the water on a sunny Florida day.
I think a number of things that jump out at me is your perspective. You're down low taking this shot, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the most important element here is the body language of the dog. Enjoyment. That was it.
The movement of it, and again, that to think like this was shot on iPhone, but like the detail that is in the spray of the water, and as well, I think that as you described, that you were thinking you're going to convert it to black and white, because I think it really does minimize distractions and allows us to focus on the interaction between the boy spraying the dog, and the movement is fabulous.
Yeah, correct. If not, I mean, the shot, it's all green. It's green and a sunny day and so on. You will get to see the dog. And then the color of the dog was not important. It was just the actual body language of the dog.
Yeah, the fluid movement. Wonderful. And this, wow. There's about for me, it's your tenderness. There's always a tenderness that I notice in your photos that comes to me.
So every time that I get a chance to travel, and every time that I go out to shoot, I always go with an emotion in mind. Right? We have to be true to ourselves. We have daily emotions. We go we go with our ups and downs and so on. So every time that I go out, I am connected to my own emotions, and based on that, that's what I look for on the actual street. That's what I try to portray. So this was taken in Singapore, in front of a famous lake with all tourists around. And then, but I was looking for something, a connection with a father, a connection with family. And this father walked by, and you could see that the lady that small girl, was just in peace, even though there was noise and craziness around her.
Yeah. For me, I think it's fascinating on a number of levels. I think, just to imagine again that they're in a scene where there's loads of tourists looking out onto the lake, and here's the photographer looking for what the people aren't looking at. And I think that in terms of composition, could you maybe just talk about what you were concerned about in composition here, in bringing the images together?
Yeah, in this case, I did see first the hair on her face, how it was, right? As we sleep, we having a face on the hair on our faces is just as in having just slept on a pillow and we're just comfortable and so on. That's what I saw first. I was hoping that the father would not remove the hair from her face. I wanted to get that natural shot. So I just got close enough, and instead of shooting tourists in the water, I tried to perceive her calmness.
Oh yeah, I like the kind of the shapes and forms that are there. I like that with the two ears together and the difference in size and that. And again, you can convert to the black and white. Was this an image that when you saw it, you knew you were going to?
Yeah, black and white. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was pretty much her eyes, the hair and calmness. Color of the father's T-shirt. It would get to be noise. Color of the background and the sky would get to be noise. It was just the attention on the actual facial expression.
Yeah, I think instinctively it comes after a while that you kind of know the photographs that are going to end up black and white. Even as you're describing them, you begin to see them when you're taking it. And that, I think, for the contrast and the balance and that. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. It's a beautiful photo. And this, wow, this is. There's so much going on here.
So this was again as being part of the 24-hour project. I was in Cusco, Peru, at a 4,000 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
And I was able to meet the NGO, the organizers of the NGO, and this woman was part of the NGO. So we kept on chatting and talking. And again, I knew that as I was talking with her, trying to relate to her, letting her know, right? I am from Peru. I live here. My grandmother and my family are from the mountains as well, and so on. I asked her if I could take her portrait, and of course there was a lot of background noise around, and I had already seen her hat from far away, and I saw the colors of her clothing. So I asked her if she could come to a white wall that was just around us, which she nicely agreed. We kept on talking, and then as I was preparing to take the shot, then she just moved to a side, and the baby appeared, and I was like, "Oh, baby! There's a baby!" And then I guess me saying that, then I got a smile on the baby, and then.
Two for the price of one.
For the price of one.
Yeah. But I love this, and I think for the people tuning into this, I think my takeaway points would be that when you're shooting portraits, something gets your visual attention, right? So for here, it's the lady with the hat, and that you were talking to her, you were telling her about yourself, and you're engaging with her, and that'll result in her being more relaxed. And then you wanted to get no visual distractions in the background.
Correct. And as I approach her, and that's what I try to tell everyone as well, try to be as genuine as possible. I mean, truly connect with the person.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we do make the mistake that we want to take a portrait, we come to them and then we ask them, and then their body language changes. They might smile, they might give you a fake smile.
Yeah.
And that's actually not what you want. I mean, you don't want to do a business-like portrait. You want to take a natural portrait in their own element.
I find that it's very often our own body language is transferred over to the subject that we're shooting, and it results like that you have here. There's a beautiful, kind of softness in her smile and in her connection in her eye. And for me, I love the balance of shapes that are going on. The hat is tilted to one side, and then the head tilt, showing empathy in her part is a little different. And then for the baby to pop out, wow.
Baby. And then as well, every time that we take portraits, we not only have to connect with them, but we have to leave them with something behind, a connection. Right? Not abuse of their time, not take something away from them, but give them something, be it a smile, something good to remember, and so on.
And you're telling me sometimes you always show people the photographs, but sometimes you email them as well?
Yeah, I mean, if I get a chance, I take a small device to print photos on the right exact moment, and I print it and give it to them. In this case, from this lady, I did love many things that she was doing for the NGO, and I did buy the linen that she handmade, and it's hanging on my apartment.
Yeah. And I think if people go onto your Instagram, they can see a whole series of these photographs, and I think they're the wonderful stories on it. Talking about giving photographs, the photograph we saw at the start with the guy with his eyes closed and the woman talking, I don't think you went back and showed them the photograph.
No.
Good stuff. I'll let you talk about this one.
And then again, thanks to the 24-hour project and working with NGOs, I got a connection to go to Chad in Central Africa and document the work of eye doctors. They were going to provide free surgery, free eye surgery to remote villages. This village was located 4 to 6 hours on a road. Not pavement, just ups and downs and roads from the capital of Jamina in Chad. And this gentleman, Ali, who has 10, I think it was like five sons and 5 daughters, was not able to see from either of the eyes. And at this moment, he was thanking Allah for being blessed to be able to see again, and thanking the doctors as well.
Absolutely powerful. I think the photograph speaks for itself. I think it's an amazing portrait. The story behind it, I think, is just fantastic.
And again,
this is a personal favorite of yours, this photograph?
It is hard because I'm still attached to the stories. I have not been able to detach myself from the stories. I mean, I see this image again, and I remember his voice and him being thankful. Imagine he was not able to see from either eye, and he got operation for both eyes. So now he's able to see. And before he was living in the house, and he was just put on a corner because he was not able to walk by himself and so on. So this to him, it meant that he had his life back again, and he was going to be able to walk out and help out for the family. So I'm still too attached to the story to choose a favorite. Yeah.
But I think that's an important thing to remember is that the photographs, it's the story behind it, and particularly in portraits, the connection that you have. I think the gesture here with giving praise to Allah and thanks, I think it really, really adds so much to the image. But wow, yeah. For me, it's one of my personal favorites of yours. Yeah.
Thanks.
And let you talk about this one as well. Yeah.
So this is like I mentioned, I am from Peru. My family came from the Andes of Peru, and this was my late grandmother, who recently passed due to pandemic situations and so on. So every time that I would go back to Peru, I know that she likes chocolate. So I would bring chocolates, for her. And what she would do, she would just grab chocolates and just hide it, so nobody else can eat her chocolate. Again, we do take care of her health and so on, but we let her get away with chocolate.
And I think what's lovely about this is that the warmth and love that comes, you can see from the image that you have for your family. And I think with photography, that we can go out on the streets and take photographs of strangers, and we can do street portraiture and that, but the photographs that really matter are the ones that we have of family. And I think that this one really communicates that as well. And I love the story about the chocolates, because you were saying to me your grandmother was so giving and loving to her own family.
Yeah.
And made so many sacrifices in her life, and I think it's great that she would keep the chocolates, well deserved.
Yeah.
And it brings us on to the 24-hour project. Now, I know you for a few years, and I've done the 24-hour myself, and it is an absolutely amazing, endeavor. And do you want to tell us about it, Renzo?
Yeah. So the idea of the 24-hour project is to gather photographers from all levels to join us in one single day, take photos of your own city for 24 hours, 1 photo per hour. It is not necessary to do all 24 hours. We just want you to have fun and document your own city. And by doing so, we support NGOs. These years, we are helping out an NGO in Kolkata, India, and we're supporting their educational programs.
And tell me a little about the background. When did it start? How did it start?
So this started in 2012, almost 10 years ago.
10 years, yeah.
And the initial idea was just to compare what happened simultaneously in 2 cities. It was New York and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then we talked with friends. This was on the early days of social media, of Instagram and Twitter, just being able to share photos. Before, it was just only text. So the initial idea was just to compare 2 cities. Many others joined, and then we compared multiple cities. 2019, we had participants from almost 800 cities.
That's incredible.
So all the photos you're seeing here, as well as on the feed on 24-hour project, you can see photos from all over the place. And what this has done to me and participants in the audience is actually break the boundaries of how is Ireland at specific point compared to Moscow at one point, and Paris. Like, Paris is not only about love, right? Russia is not about Putin, right? Latin America is not about food, and so on. So we get to see multiple aspects from local photographers.
And I think the thing about photography is that it's a universal language, and this, like, an event like this does bring the world together for a day, and you can see what's every hour what's happening in cities, as the diverse as Cork and Jakarta or New York and Cape Town. I think is absolutely fantastic, and particularly like the social change aspect is very important to you. Do you want to maybe tell us about why?
Yeah, so when the project started, it was just about photography and taking photos, and the challenge of us learning as we take photos for 24 hours. And then as that came along, 4 years ago, I started to talk with NGOs to see what else we could do with the photos. So then we partner with multiple NGOs from, be it Uganda, India, Peru, Mexico, Iran, and so on. And every time that we do this, we try to help them out. We do raise funds for the NGO. We provide them more exposure for their volunteering and anything that they do, all the programs. And at the end, we do have photo exhibitions for using the photos that we're taking in the project. We've had 26 exhibitions so far. And on every single exhibition, we tell the story of the NGO, why we are doing all this. Right? It's pretty much taking photos to help others.
Yeah. And for some people might be wondering, as you said, you don't need to do the full 24 hours, but people do the full 24 hours. How could you manage? How do you get through 24 hours being on the street without sleep? What do you do?
with friends. That's how we do it.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So you do not need to do the 24 hours all together. Just register free on the website. Yeah. And just join us. There are a lot of photographers already joined. You can find them on the website. And what we do is this is an opportunity to see our own cities at different hours. Yeah. For example, myself, New York. I've never walked on the streets of New York at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or so. Every time that I go out and shoot is during my off hours, right? 2 hours here, 3 hours there, and so on.
Yeah.
So this is a chance to be able to be out there. Again, it's not necessary to do 24 hours, but as we start doing a couple of hours, then we see the rest of the world doing it at the same time. The momentum keeps on building up, and then and then we just keep on going. Many have said, "Oh, you know what? I cannot do it. I'll just do it for 3 hours on that Saturday." And I'm like, "Yeah, great, fun." And then after the 10th hour, they text me back, "Hey, this is amazing. I'm not going home. I cannot go home. Everybody's doing it here."
Yeah, and I think from having done it myself, it's extraordinary. To be on Instagram and see photographs flying in from all the different parts of the world, and it does. No matter how tired you are, you're thinking, "No, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going." And it's a fantastic, I think, in terms of, getting out, doing something for a good cause, and doing, what you enjoy with your hobby, and that, brilliant. And, it's such a big event, and I think that, people should get out and register for it, definitely.
And it's fun. I mean, I keep on learning on myself on how to take better photos, because it's a personal challenge to do better every single hour. Make mistakes and correct them, and then keep on going.
Yeah.
It's
and the
like
community aspect with your friends, and getting back to the cafe, sharing, checking each other's photos, and deciding what ones you'll post for that hour. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's always fun.
Yeah, good stuff. And this is your latest project.
Yes.
Brilliant.
So now I am taking photos of the ultra Orthodox Jewish community.
And you're doing it on iPhone as well, yeah?
iPhone. I'm new to the neighborhood. I'm seeing a lot of things that I do not understand. So I am going home and I'm reading, I'm learning. I'm studying more about the culture, more about the community, the ultra Orthodox community, language, customs, and so on. Why their stores are not open on Saturdays? Why do all of them have, all the kids are dressed up the same, and so on. So as I keep on learning, I keep on going back to the streets with my iPhone, and I keep on shooting and documenting. So this is something that I'm working on as of now, and I'll keep on working at it as long as I keep on learning and I keep on working on this series.
Yeah, one thing I think that has come across from today's interview with Renzo, I think, is you've used the word learning a lot, and I think a lot of times when people are tuning in and listening to kind of established photographers and that, they think that they've arrived, that's it. But actually, the learning it's continuous, isn't it? Like that.
Yeah, we gotta keep on trying, and we gotta keep on learning. We gotta keep on moving. I mean, if we are too comfortable with ourselves, then that's the end line. Yeah, we gotta keep on pushing our boundaries, and so on.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, it's been wonderful, hearing you give us the background to the photographs, talking about your process, talking about what inspires you, and talking about you still have the curiosity to learn and to improve. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the walk through the photographs that you selected and learning about the 24-hour. And fantastic. Thanks so much, Renzo.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We'll keep on learning and sharing.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, guys. We have had a decent dose of interaction and questions kind of queuing up in the background via YouTube. I did something different this week. I put up some of the hellos from different parts of the world. It's amazing to see so many people from all over the globe joining in the conversation. So welcome all of you. I'm going to try and scooch back, if you will, through the comments that came in and try and pick off some of these questions almost in the order that they come in, to be fair. So I'm just scrolling through. Here's one of the very first ones that popped up from Sara in Finland. Do you use the native camera app at all, or is it always Pro Camera or some other special camera app? Did you hear me, Renzo?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know if it was for
oh, sorry, I should have
Brendan or for myself.
Yeah. He gave
so if I have time to set up the camera, I would use Pro Camera or something specifically. If I do not, because we were trying to predict the future, I just use the native camera app. Mm-hmm. And every time that we go out, if we are ready to shoot, we gotta be ready to shoot, right? Be it our airplane mode and thinking what is it that we're going to look for on the street. Be it that if I'm going to a park, am I looking for kids or moms or anything, or trees or cats, or because if we are all over the place, then we usually miss the shot because there are way too many things happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Next question here from Limt, who said this has been brewing for quite some time. It's specific to the 24-hour questions for you again, Renzo.
Yeah, of course. Surely. This time on a 24-hour project, we are encouraging participants to take photos outdoors, indoors, or within your own home. It has never been only a street. It has never been only on your own city. It can be anywhere. And as well, during the 24-hour project, on previous years as well, many would go visit family, or many would go indoors for a gathering, a wedding, or something. So we want to see that. Previously as well, I mean, we've had received portraits on how people are feeling at the moment, any stories that they want to share. So yeah, surely, self-portraits are welcome.
Fantastic. Here's another one then. Do you alternate between portrait and landscape?
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. Most of the time I do landscape for the most part. I guess I started doing portrait now because of Instagram stories and now everything moving on portrait mode. But landscape is usually my way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. This one may be, I'm assuming this is actually kind of directed towards entries for the competition, but, you know, care more about street photography or street portraiture? What are your thoughts?
What should we care about? I mean, I would say it's either or. Be it that it's a portrait or taken on the street with elements on the background that tell the whole story, right? If I am on the street and I approach someone or something grabs my attention, I will come to them and I will take a portrait of them, and then I will make sure that right, I want to be able to tell that the portrait was taken in New York or in a park or in a zoo or something else. And if it adds up onto it, I would add elements onto the portrait.
Mm-hmm. I think with that one, I think you should also consider what you're more comfortable with yourself. Is it that you want to get candid photographs that will tell a story, or is it that you want to interact with people? And if it is that you want, thinking about entering the competition, I think, maybe to be more targeted about it and say, my strengths are in candid, that's what I'm going to do, or, that I feel that I can get, better shots by interacting and telling people who I am and what has got my attention, like that. But to go with what you're comfortable with yourself, I think.
Very good. Yes. There's a great question here from Elaine Taylor, actually. So talk a little bit about sharing images on social media of other people, submitting them into competitions. So it's to do with privacy, and I don't know if GDPR has crossed the pond, Renzo, but it's a bit of an issue here we're still discussing. But what are your thoughts about sharing images? Like, clearly, for the most part, from what you've said, you tend to not only acknowledge people, but often share with them and interact with them. So you're not really doing discreet or hidden candid.
Correct. Yes, but I guess my personal rule is we all always have to be ethical with what we are shooting and sharing. And if we are distorting the moment, if we're changing what we are seeing, then it becomes unethical. If I'm taking a photo, and I give this sample a lot, if I'm taking a photo of someone holding their hair up, and I take a photo and I mention that, oh yeah, this person has cancer and is losing the hair, and then this is going on and so on, then I'm distorting the moment. Right, that's unethical. But then if I'm taking a portrait of someone and it's just a facial expression, then they're just tired and exhausted, and then that is not I do not believe it's an issue. Surely it's always a fine line whether street photography is obtruding, we're getting into someone's personal moment and sharing that or not. But I think it all comes to being on the right ethical line of things.
Yeah, I mean, I would touch on this as well in the context of nothing like the experience of any of you gents basically in street photography, but certainly if I am quite visibly taking a photograph of someone and if they ask me to stop, or if they say to me, I don't want my photograph taken, I will very visibly delete the image in their presence as a courtesy thing. Legally though, if they're in a public place, I don't have to do that. Legally, I could say, tough, you're in a public space, you have no right to privacy here. But is it worth the confrontation? Is it worth the hassle? Is it worth potentially being trolled afterwards? I would say probably not, to be fair. Yeah. Photojournalists and paparazzi, whole other rule book. Let's not go there. There's one more question from Elaine, again, about the 24-hour project. So let's just pop that up. Finally, sign up for the 20, and not a time, anything to do with it before, the three of us going for the full 24 hours. Any tips that you would give us?
Oh, that's great. First of all, there is a big community already doing it. On the website, we have the list of all participants. We have ambassadors per city the ambassadors can help you out. The ambassadors will start a WhatsApp group to provide tips and guidance. But if you're doing it all 3 women together, which is great, first advice that I give is not to do it by yourself. So if you're the 3 of you, that's splendid. Do look out for things that are open in your own city, activity where there's more people around during the wee hours of the day. Another thing as well is have friends meet you during the day, the duration of the day, be that they are photographers or not. Let them know, let's meet for breakfast at whatever hour during that time. Let's do coffee and here and there. So do take the opportunity that you're on the streets of your own city, not only to explore the city, but to meet with friends that you haven't met in a long time. Mm-hmm. That keeps the momentum going. That gives you extra energy. Lets you keep on having fun.
Mm-hmm. I think Elaine and you probably need to have a conversation offline because
yeah, I will.
This could become question ping pong. But no, she's saying she couldn't find any ambassadors, but maybe for next year. But I think I would say Elaine, reach out to Renzo for a follow-up conversation.
Yeah, I'll reach out. We'll talk. We'll chat.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. Now, we're running out of time, unfortunately, but there's still other questions in there. There's also lots of compliments on the presentation, Renzo. Lots of people saying, thanks so much for sharing, great tips and everything else as well. So again, I'd like to echo that and say, thanks so much for sharing. And thanks so much for being part of the competition. It's a huge deal to us, Guys, we have about 7 minutes and counting down left to go. Andy, you wanted to give something away.
Yeah. We had to give away a cheat sheet last time, and I've got an old ebook that I wrote a few years ago. Some of parts of the book, the sort of tech aspects are a bit out of date, but generally the content of it is evergreen. It talks about composition and walks you through editing in Snapseed. So that's a giveaway. I think you've got a slide there for the QR code to download it.
As we did last week, folks, this is a little bit of interactivity. So if you want to, hopefully you're not watching this on your phone. If you are watching it on your phone, you'll have to come back later and either follow the link in the description or go to the Mobiography website or look at any one of our social media accounts. But for now, for a bit of interaction, if you launch the camera app on your smartphone, hopefully you have the QR code reader enabled in the camera app. And if you pointed at the screen now, you will hopefully get access to the camera in your pocket, which actually I have to say, Andy's playing it down an awful lot because I've gone through it and it's an absolute cracking piece of literature and really all relevant and valid. I mean, the fact that the device has moved on a bit is, a tiny side. So hopefully it's been up there for 15 seconds. Hopefully that's long enough for you to be able to scan it. You can, of course, watch back today's live stream. So you can always skim to that part again if you want to get the QR code. But like we say, Andy last week put that actual link as an actual URL in the description, so you can get it that way as well. But definitely worth downloading. And just because a few people may have joined us this week for the first time, I'm also just quickly going to plug the little QR for the one that Brendan gave away last week, which is tips and tricks on his composition and framing techniques. And remember, of course, that video is also on the Mobiography channel, and you can go back and have a look at that as well. There's some valuable stuff in there also. A few more little things to do before we actually wrap up the show. We did during the week, Andy, you published some of the entries for the competition, and I wanted, if it's okay with everyone, to pop them up on screen and maybe try and throw it open to a discussion just for a second, just a few that you've shared already, if you will.
Yep.
Now, I'm showing this live off its phone. Anything could happen. I apologize in advance if it's messages from my wife or otherwise, but anyway, it's live, that's the fun of it. So image one, I think were you telling me earlier that this is Mal?
Yeah, I think this is Mal McCann. I love this image. It's the contrast between the black of the water and the white of the swans, and also the way they all seem to be sort of centering in on that swan in the middle. It sort of all draws your eye into the image. It's
amazing. I just love the hyper contrast of it. Like, they white and the first thing.
And the multiple directions as well, right? Heads here, heads there, and they're socially distancing somehow.
COVID aware swan. New.
COVID compliance.
Cracking image, Mal. I know Mal is with us because I saw he popped up in comments earlier saying hi.
Wow.
What about this one? Do we know who the photographer is?
I don't. I'm afraid. But yeah, I like the way the two walls on the left and the right side sort of balance and sort of draw the eye into the guy in the boat, you know, and the light up in the top right corner as it spills across the image. There's a nice softness about this.
A hell of a capture to catch those birds like in flight at that exact moment. It makes me slightly raise my eyebrow and go, is fate or God, you know, involved, or could there perhaps be a little bit of digital manipulation? I presume not. It looks 100% legit to me, actually, because the motion blur and everything looks absolutely spot on. So a cracking shot from that point of view as well.
Yeah, what a moment. I mean, it makes me want to go to that place. It just draws you in.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, another one.
Oh, yeah, lovely. I'm not sure if this is Andrew Gimblett, Wolf Dogs. I know it's his sort of style, but yeah, I like the sort of the way the shadow sort of frames the image and the two figures. You know, it just draws your eye through down into the center of the shot.
Symmetry in it really strikes me as well.
Yeah,
actually. I love archways and things like that as natural frames.
This is fantastic.
That's got to be a Rob Layton photograph.
Yeah. He's he's well known for his surfing shots. It's an excellent angle. The figure, you know, in the foreground draws you, you know, provides interest there, and then your eye goes into the center where the other two guys are surfing around there. It's the action and the crispness of the water droplets and everything.
Can I ask you about? Is this cropped? Is that the source image, or did you put everything into the square aspect ratio?
That should be as it is, I think.
Right. Okay.
That's where is it? I don't think.
I mean, look, who am I to question what techniques? I mean, I've interviewed him at length in one of the podcasts I've done in the past. He's an amazing photographer. I'm just surprised that he would intentionally cut off the surfer on the top left, but he may well have. I'm just curious about it. But I love the color scheme in it as well. And I mean, you know, there's this guy. It's not teal. What's the name of that color? That blue. It's not azure blue. Teal. I love that. I mean, it's awesome.
We were talking about, is it could it be entered into street? Can we get into a whole discussion about a street photographer?
There's an interesting take. Yeah, is it nature? Is it street? Yeah, both. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever.
People in portraits. Yeah.
Last one.
Wow. Love the depth of field on this.
Mm-hmm. The light.
It's quite a technique I sometimes use is to take the phone, turn it upside down, and hold the lens down to the floor, and it just accentuates the blur in the foreground. Going out into the back.
Yeah, and the connection between sky, water, and earth. I recently, yesterday, I watched the documentary "My Octopus Teacher."
Oh, I've been meaning to watch that.
Amazing. You have to. And then it tells the relationship between a person, the water, earth, sky, nature, and so on. So seeing these just draws me back to that documentary.
Put the link to that documentary in the show notes as well. I want to watch it.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I must watch on Netflix. Actually, I'm 100% going to go there. Again, we're so close to the wire. We did try to keep it under an hour so we could share elsewhere, but we wanted to do a shout out for some new judges who've joined the competition as well. Again, Andy, will I throw to you on that one?
We've got. I think we mentioned last time. There's the Chris from the Fauxblographer. Which is quite a leading camera photography website. Have you got him down there?
There he is.
He is. He's joined us. He's as a media partner. So there's Chris. And then scrolling up, we have there's Mark, there's Renzo, there's Jen Pollock-Bianco. She is a travel photographer and blogger from the US. And we've also got Mary Walker, a mobile artist who is running workshops across America. I think she's living in an RV at the moment. So she's traveling west to east, I think, photographing and teaching as she goes.
Awesome. Fantastic. Great news. Nice to have some of the ladies involved in the judging as well. We know that we've had a few comments on social media kind of jibing gently in that general direction. Okay, listen, we're coming to the end of the hour. I just want to do a quick recap on why we're here. So the fortnightly shows, they will become weekly as we get closer to the actual submission deadline, just for the record. So we have more to come. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be back, but I'm not going to say yet what it is. Are we sure what it is? Do we know? Oh, okay. Let's not. We're going to keep it a mystery for now, but we will share it in the coming week. Who's coming on the next show? Of course, it's all because of the Mobiography Awards. Here's a quick reminder of what we're up to. Okay, very good. And we are just out of time. I just say it one more time, say it at the end of every show. If you want to reach out to us or connect with Andy in any sense, remember you can reach him on multiple platforms. You can get him via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, obviously, or here via YouTube. If you have any comments, suggestions, feedbacks, ideas, is feedback even a word? No. Please do reach out because we would love to hear from you. We really appreciate you giving up the time and joining us today. But that is it for session 2 of the Mobiography live show. Guys, I'll invite you all to say your goodbyes.
Okay.
Hello. Thank
Bye,
you.
and thanks again, Renzo. Fantastic.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks for
Thanks,
joining
everybody.
us.
Thanks, guys. And again, until we see you again in 2 weeks, thanks for joining us and bye-bye for now.